Okay, good afternoon. So we're going to do a lesson on congruent shapes. And I guess for most of you, the word congruent is something you probably haven't heard before. So by the end of this lesson, you should know what the word congruent means, also what the word similar means, which you might have heard in the context of English. We're going to define it in the context of maths. Secondly, you should be able to decide whether two shapes are congruent just by looking at them, if they're drawn to scale. And thirdly, which is the tricky bit, there are some rules to decide whether triangles are congruent, and you're hopefully going to be able to apply those rules to the triangles to decide if those two shapes are congruent. So to do this lesson, you're going to need the congruency PDF that we've emailed to you and your exercise book, or if you've run out of that, some papers, fine. Okay, so I'm about to define the words congruent and similar, and when I've done that, you're going to actually pause the video and actually copy those definitions into your exercise books. So here we go, just scroll down. So the definitions that you need are as follows. Two shapes are congruent if basically they're the same shape. Okay, they need to be exactly the same shape, but also exactly the same size. And so if they're drawn to scale, you might need to cut them out and turn them over or turn them round so that they fit on top of each other. But basically, if you could cut them out and put them on top of each other, they're congruent. If they're not congruent, they might be a completely different shape, or they might be what we call similar. Now, two shapes are similar if they're basically the same shape, if their structure is the same shape, but actually they could be a bigger version or a smaller version of it. Okay, so the word we'd usually use for that is an enlargement. So if one shape's an enlargement of the other, then we say those two shapes are similar. Okay, they could, of course, be neither of these things. They might be a slightly different shape. So you need to check the proportions. If you're looking for similar shapes, you need to make sure that if one set of sides is doubled, the other set of sides is exactly doubled as well. Okay, so what you're going to do now is pause this video and copy those two definitions into your exercise book. If it's easier to read them off the PDF, then just open up the PDF and copy them from there. That might be easier than a flickering screen on the video. Once you've done that, you're going to keep the video paused, and there are some questions on the PDF from 32A, and you're going to spend 10 minutes answering as many of those as you can. Brilliant. So I hope you've just spent 10 minutes answering questions from 32A. These are the answers I have, so I'm just going to set up the camera so you can see it. Those are my answers. Hopefully yours are fairly similar. Okay, so I've given you a minute to check those. If you need to, go back and look at the pictures and try and work out why you got them wrong, if something didn't go quite right. So that's all very well if they draw the shapes to scale. So if the shapes are drawn to scale, you just look at them and decide, are they exactly the same shape, or is one an enlargement of the other? But if they're not drawn to scale, then there are some things that we are required to be able to do as far as triangles are concerned. Just triangles, nothing else. So they won't ask you about squares or any other quadrilaterals, anything like that, literally just triangles. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the 4 rules of congruency, and I'm going to do that quite slowly. That's quite tricky. You're going to then copy them down. Once you've copied them down, then I'm going to do some examples, and hopefully that will make a little bit more sense. So let's start here. There are 4 rules that you need to know about congruent shapes. Congruent triangles, not just shapes. You only need to know about rules for congruent triangles, and there are 4 rules you need to know. And after I've explained each one, if you could just pause the video and copy that. Again, it's on the PDF, but you will have to insert the pictures that I'm drawing. So congruent, remember, means exactly the same shape and size. But if they don't draw them to scale, how do I know whether those 2 triangles are exactly the same? Well, there are 4 ways that I might know that they're the same. If they draw me 2 pictures, even if they haven't drawn them to scale so they don't look the same, hoping you can see the pencil. Okay, missed, terrible. If they give me these 2 sides and they tell me they're the same, so I've put 1 notch on each of those to tell you they're the same, and then 2 notches on this pair of sides, so that tells me these pair of sides are the same. And lastly, these sides are also the same, so they've told me those 2 sides are the same. If they give me some triangles and they tell me something about each of these pairs of sides and they match in each triangle, then I know that these 2 triangles are exactly the same triangle because their sides are all the same length. And if so, then I say that they are congruent, okay? And how do I know that they're congruent? Well, because they told me that 3 sets of sides are the same, so they have to be the same triangle. And if you're asked this question in the exam, they'll show you a picture like this and they say, are these 2 triangles congruent? And you look at them and you say, yep, look, these pairs of sides all match, so I've got 3 sets of matching sides. And so you don't have to write 3 sets of matching sides are equal. It's perfectly acceptable just to write SSS, side, side, side. So if I drew you a quick picture and I say this triangle here has side 3, side 4 and side 7, and then I say what about this triangle? Is it the same triangle? This triangle here is 7, 3, 4, and you look at it and you say, well, hang on a minute, that side matches that side matches that side, this side matches this side. So I think, yes, they're the same, so I say they're congruent. And the reason I am saying that is because I've got 3 pairs of matching sides. So pause the video, copy the definition, and then draw in the picture as a little example. Then we'll do the next one. Okay, so that was the first rule, side, side, side. 3 pairs of matching sides. You know that those 2 triangles are the same, even if they've drawn them terribly and they don't look the same. So the next way I might know that 2 triangles are exactly the same is they tell me something else about them. Instead of telling me the 3 sides, what they've actually told me this time is they've told me that this side is the same as that side. So these 2 match. So I've got a pair of matching sides. Then they tell me these 2 sides are the same. So I'm thinking, brilliant, I've got 3 matching sides. But actually they didn't tell me about the side. This time they told me that this angle matches that. So, and I need to be careful, this angle has to be in between the 2 sides they give me. If they give me one down here, they're just trying to confuse me, and that doesn't fit the rule. So I say, I don't know that they're congruent, so they're not congruent. But if they give me 2 sets of matching sides, and the angle in between them also matches, and it has to be in between the 2 sides they gave me, then I know that these 2 triangles are the same. So I say those 2 triangles are congruent, they're the same. Okay, but be careful, that angle that they give you must be in the right place. It must be in between the 2 sides that they've given you. Okay, again, if they ask you for a reason, it's perfectly okay just to write side, angle, side, and not to write the whole sentence. So if I give you these 3 triangles, can you still see those? Just checking. And I tell you that this is 40, and that this is 3, and that this is 4, and that this is 3, and this is 4, and this is 40, and this is 3, and this is 4, and this is 40, and I ask you which ones of those triangles are the same, I need to look really carefully because they all look good, don't they? They've all got 2 pairs of matching sides and they've all got a matching angle, so I think, oh yeah, they're all the same. But actually I need to be careful because on this one, the angle is in the right places, in between the 2 sides they gave me. On this one, it's on the other side of the triangle, it should be here. So this one doesn't match. I don't know that that's the same triangle. This one, 2 sides, angle in between. So this pair of triangles here are exactly the same triangle. I know that they're the same triangle. This one here, I don't know anything about that one. It might be different. So this pair here is congruent. This third one, I don't know. So I have to, that's my reason. When they ask me for my own reason for this, I say I've got side, angle, side. Okay, so pause the video, copy that bit. And let's move on to the third one. So what else might they do? Well, they might give me 2 angles and a side. So they might tell me this angle, and then they might tell me this angle. And then in my other triangle, they might tell me this angle. Let's do it that way around. Okay, so I have a look and I think, okay, I've got a pair of matching angles and another pair of matching angles, and as long as I've got a matching side and it has to be in the right place on my triangle, then actually I can use this rule and say these 2 triangles are congruent, they are the same. Okay, now it doesn't matter which of these sides they give me, so I'm going to give you that one. But in your other triangle, it needs to be in the same place. So when I turn that round, I get exactly the same triangle and it's in the right place. So if I've got 2 angles and a side in the right place compared to the other triangle, then I can use this rule here and say that these 2 are the same. Okay, so again, I'm going to give you a quick example. This one's 40, this one's 30, this one's 40, this one's 30, 40 and 30. Let's give you 3, 3, 3. So I have a look at that and I think, yeah, okay, so I've got matching angles all the way and I've got matching sides. So I'm hoping to use this, but then I look at it carefully and I think, hang on a minute, this 3 is in the wrong place compared to these 2 3s. So this is the odd one out and these 2 match. These are the same triangle, so I say they're congruent. And the reason I know that is because I have 2 angles and a matching side. Okay, pause the video, copy those ones. And lastly, let's do this one. This one's the easiest one to spot, but we tend to forget about it because we're too busy doing the other ones. So if I can see a right angle, the hypotenuse, now remember when we did Pythagoras, hypotenuse is just the longest side in a triangle. So if they've given me the hypotenuse and I know that they match, and they give me any other side in the triangle as long as they give me the same number, if I've got right angle, hypotenuse and one other side, then I know that these 2 triangles are the same, and the rule I'm using is this one, right angle, hypotenuse and side. Okay, so that probably at the moment is blowing your heads and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't really understand. So what I'd like you to do is once you've copied all those definitions, I'm then going to work through 6 examples. Now, if you want to look at those before I do them, they're in your PDF and you can have a look at the examples that I've copied. And then I'm going to show you how do I decide whether they're congruent, the same, or not. Okay. So here are my 6 questions, and I've just written at the top here those 4 rules we just discussed. So every time they ask me whether these triangles are congruent or not, I'm going to look at these 4 rules and say, do they fit any of these rules? If they do, then I know that they're the same shape. If they don't fit those rules, then I don't know that they're the same shape, so I don't know that they're congruent. So let's look at these 2 to start with. What do I know about these? Well, I can see a pair of matching sides, I can see another pair of matching sides, and a third pair of matching sides. So actually I know that this triangle is exactly the same triangle as this one. Okay, so the word I need to write down is yes, I know that they're congruent, because I can't just write the same, I need to use the maths word. And then, how do I know? Because it says give a reason. Well, I've got 3 pairs of matching sides, so I write side, side, side. Okay, next up, let's look at this one. So again, I'm looking at these 4 rules and thinking, do I have any of these 4 rules? Do I have side, side, side? No, I don't have 3 sides this time, so can't use that rule. So let's look at this rule. This rule says side, angle, side. Well, I don't have 2 sides, so I don't think I can use that rule. So now I'm looking at this rule. And this, well, let's look at this rule and get rid of this one first. This says right angle. I haven't got a right angle, so I'm ignoring that one. So I'm looking at this ASA rule. So that was angle, angle, and the side in the right place on the triangle. So let's have a look. I've got a pair of matching angles. Looks good. Got another pair of matching angles. That looks good. So I'm hoping to use ASA. So all I need to do now is check, do I have a matching side? Well, it looks good, doesn't it? Because I've got a 4 here and a 4 here. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, happy days. These are congruent. I'm good to go. But then I need to look really carefully and think, because look at where that 4 is. It's in between these 2 angles. And now look at where this 4 is. It's on the other side of the triangle. So actually, that's not, I can't use that rule because they're not in the right place, these 4s. They're in different places on the triangle. So I don't know that these 2 shapes are the same. Okay, so because I can't use any one of these 4 rules, I don't know that these are the same, so I have to put they're not the same. But of course it's maths, so I have to write not congruent. Okay, next up, let's look at this one. I'm trying to keep these in the corner so you can still see them. Do I have 3 sides? No, so I'm not going to use that rule. Do I have side, angle in between, and side? Well, I have got side and side, but I haven't got the angle in between them, so I'm not going to use that rule. Angle, side, angle. Nope, only got one angle, so I'm definitely not using that one. This one looks more promising. So let's check whether I've got a right angle, the hypotenuse, and a side. So I've got a right angle, so I've got that bit, so it's looking promising. I've got the hypotenuse, the one opposite the right angle. So I've got a hypotenuse. And then I had to have another side that matched. And I do have another side that matched. So I know that these two shapes are the same. And so I write congruent, the maths for same shape. How do I know? Because I had a right angle, the hypotenuse, and another set of sides that matched. Okay, let's look at this one. So start at the top, side, side, side. Haven't got three sets of sides, so I'm not going to use that one. Side, angle, side looks promising. Look, I've got two sides that match, two sets of matching sides, and I've got an angle. So all I need to do now, if you remember on this rule here, was I had to check that the angle was in between the two sides they gave me. So did I have the 52 in between the 7 and the 5? Yes, look, there's the 7, there's the 5, 52's in between them. Look at this triangle, check it's in the same place. Two sides, 52 in between them. So yes, these two shapes are the same shape. How do I know? Well, I use this rule up here, the side, angle, side rule. So I write congruent. What rule did I use? This one here. Oh, I've gone off your picture. Okay, two more and then it's your turn. Now I've written the four things down the bottom here again because they've gone off the top. So let's look at these. Do I have side, side, side? Definitely not. Do I have side, angle, side? No, I haven't got any sides. Angle, side, angle? No, haven't got that. Right angle, hypotenuse, side. No, haven't got that either. So this set of shapes, who knows whether they're the same or not. They don't fit any of these rules, so I can't tell you that they're the same shape. So I have to write not congruent because they don't fit any of these rules. Now, in actual fact, these two shapes are probably an enlargement of each other because when you enlarge a shape, you don't change any of its angles. So I'm looking at that thinking, well, probably they're not the same shape, but one's an enlargement of the other. And we'll look at that next lesson. Okay, last one. So what have I got? I've got two angles, so I'm probably not got three sides, not got two sides, not got a right angle. So I'm going to check whether I've got this. So if you remember back up the top, we thought we might have that. We had two angles and a side, but then the side was in the wrong place. So that's the bit I've got to check carefully. So have I got two pairs of matching angles? Yes. Happy? Have I got a matching side? Well, it looks like it, but remember last time it looked like it, so I've just got to check. Is that 3 in the same place on both pictures? So if I look at this 3, it's in between those two angles they gave me. If I look at this 3, it's in between those two angles they gave me. So I have got two sets of angles the same, and the side in the same place the same as well. So these two are the same shape, so I write congruent. And what rule did I use to decide that? Well, I think I used this one, two angles and a matching side. Now, that's pretty tricky. And so what you might need to do is you're going to go and have a go at some of these questions. And as you have a go at them, you might find that actually you need to come back and re-watch part of this video, this bit where I've worked through these examples again, and do that as part of your 30 minutes. So if you get stuck, come back and re-watch what I did to decide whether they're congruent and see whether that helps you to get going. Okay, so you're going to spend the rest of this time, the next 30 minutes, trying some of the questions that we've put in the PDF. The answers are at the end. Obviously, don't cheat. Look at them when you've done the question. Check whether you're right or not. If you keep getting them wrong, then come back and re-watch these last 6 examples.